My name is Alex, and for over a decade I worked as a janitor at the old Belmont Penitentiary. It's a place with a dark history, long forgotten by most, except for the few of us who kept it from falling completely into ruin. My job was to clean, organize, and maintain the storerooms, making sure everything was in order. Every day, I'd unlock the rusty door, step into the dimly lit room, and begin the same routine. Sweeping the dust, organizing the remaining supplies, and securing the space before locking up for the night. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and shadows stretched their long fingers across the grounds, a group of people arrived. They called themselves paranormal investigators, but to me, they were just a bunch of thrill seekers. They had all the gadgets and gear, claiming they could communicate with spirits. I was skeptical, but I let them in, curiosity and a bit of boredom nudging me to see what would happen. As I led them through the narrow hallways, their footsteps echoed against the crumbling walls. The air was thick with a musty odor, and the dim lights cast eerie shadows. They asked me to tell them about the prison's history, so I recounted the stories I had heard over the years. Tales of innocent men condemned, their pleas for mercy ignored by a corrupt system. It was a place where justice had often gone awry, and many inmates had met their end with bitterness and anger in their hearts. We reached the heart of the prison, the cell blocks where the condemned were held. The investigators set up their equipment, aiming cameras and microphones into the dark recesses of the cells. They began their work, asking questions into the void, hoping for a response. I stood back, arms crossed, watching with a mix of disbelief and morbid curiosity. Hours passed with little to show for their efforts. The investigators grew restless, their initial excitement waning. One of them, a woman named Sarah, seemed particularly frustrated. She insisted on exploring deeper into the prison, convinced that something was there. Against my better judgment, I agreed to take her to the old solitary confinement wing. The solitary wing was the most foreboding part of Belmont Penitentiary. The cells were small, dark, and suffocating. The heavy doors had small barred windows through which the guards would occasionally peek to ensure the prisoners hadn't succumbed to madness or worse. As we walked, I could almost hear the faint whispers of those who had suffered here, their voices a distant echo in the back of my mind. Sarah seemed unfazed by the oppressive atmosphere. She set up her equipment and began asking questions again. This time, however, something felt different. The air grew colder, and the silence was so profound it seemed to press down on us. I shivered, rubbing my arms to ward off the chill. But Sarah was focused, her eyes scanning the darkness for any sign of movement. Then there was a sound, a soft, almost imperceptible whisper. It was so faint that I thought I had imagined it. But Sarah's eyes widened, and she turned her camera towards the source. She asked another question, her voice trembling slightly. There was a pause. Then the whisper came again, clearer this time. It was a name, repeated over and over, as if the speaker was trying desperately to be heard. Sarah looked at me, her face pale. "Did you hear that?" she asked. I nodded, my heart pounding in my chest. The name was unfamiliar to me, but the desperation in the voice was unmistakable. It was as if someone was trying to reach out from the darkness, begging for acknowledgement. As the night wore on, the whispers grew more frequent, each one a plea for justice, for recognition. Sarah and I moved from cell to cell, the whispers following us, growing louder and more insistent. It was unnerving, and I could see the fear in Sarah's eyes, but she pressed on, determined to uncover the truth. We came to the last cell in the row, a particularly dark and foreboding space. Sarah set up her camera and began her questions again. This time the response was immediate and chilling. A voice, clear and distinct, spoke from the darkness. "Why did you leave us?" it asked. "Why did you forget?" Sarah looked at me, her face ashen. I didn't know what to say. The voice was filled with such sorrow, such anguish, that it was impossible to ignore. It was as if the very walls of the prison were crying out, demanding justice for the souls trapped within. The investigators gathered their equipment, their faces somber. They had come seeking thrills, but what they found was something far more profound. As we made our way back to the main hall, the whispers followed us, a constant reminder of the prison's dark past. The experience left a mark on all of us. The investigators left that night, their excitement replaced by a deep sense of unease. They promised to return with more equipment, to delve deeper into the prison's secrets. I, however, was left with a sense of dread that I couldn't shake. In the days that followed, I found myself thinking about the voices we had heard. The sorrow and desperation in their words haunted me. I began to research the prison's history, digging through old records and newspaper articles. The stories I found were heartbreaking, men and women condemned to die for crimes they didn't commit, their lives cut short by a flawed justice system. As I delved deeper, I discovered the name that had been whispered in the darkness. It belonged to a man who had been wrongfully convicted of murder and executed in the prison's electric chair. His case had been riddled with inconsistencies and corruption, but no one had listened to his pleas of innocence. The more I learned, the more I felt a responsibility to these lost souls. They had been forgotten by history, their stories buried in the dust of time. But their voices had found a way to reach out, to demand justice from beyond the grave. One night, I returned to the prison alone. Armed with a flashlight and a recorder, I made my way back to the solitary wing. The air was cold and heavy, with a sense of foreboding. As I walked, I could feel the weight of the past pressing down on me, the whispers growing louder with each step. I reached the last cell and stood in the darkness, my heart pounding in my chest. I turned on the recorder and began to speak, my voice trembling. I told the story of the man whose name we had heard, recounting his life, his trial, and his execution. I spoke of the injustice he had suffered and the pain he had endured. As I spoke, the air grew colder, and I could feel a presence in the room. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. I could feel the weight of their sorrow, their anger, and their desperation. It was overwhelming, and I struggled to keep my composure. When I finished, I stood in silence, waiting. The whispers continued, but there was a change in their tone. The anger and desperation were still there, but there was also a sense of relief, as if they were finally being heard. I left the prison that night with a sense of purpose. I knew I couldn't change the past, but I could help bring these stories to light. I began to document the stories of the condemned, sharing them with the world in the hopes of giving these lost souls the justice they deserved. The prison's exterior lights create a warm glow in the calm night. As I look back at the old building, I can still hear the whispers, a reminder of the forgotten prisoners who once called this place home. Their stories are a testament to the flaws in our justice system and a reminder of the importance of remembering the past. Each story I uncover adds another layer to the prison's dark history. The voices of the condemned continue to reach out, demanding to be heard. It's a heavy burden, but one I'm determined to carry. These souls deserve to be remembered, and their stories deserve to be told. In the end, it's not about the thrill of the paranormal or the excitement of a ghost hunt. It's about justice and the acknowledgement of those who were wronged. Belmont Penitentiary may be a place of darkness, but through these stories, I hope to bring a little light to the lives that were lost within its walls. The old prison may be crumbling, its walls decaying, but the spirits of the condemned live on. Their voices echo through the halls, a constant reminder of the pain and suffering they endured. As long as their stories are told, they will never be truly forgotten. I've made it my mission to uncover the truth, to give a voice to the voiceless. Each story is a piece of the puzzle, a step towards understanding the full extent of the injustices that took place within these walls. It's a journey filled with sorrow and heartache, but also with a sense of purpose. As I walk through the prison grounds, I can feel the presence of the past all around me. The weight of history is heavy, but it's a burden I'm willing to bear. These stories are important, and they deserve to be heard. The investigators return from time to time, bringing their equipment and their questions. They're still searching for proof of the paranormal, but I've come to realize that the real ghosts of Belmont Penitentiary are the stories of the people who lived and died here. Their lives, their pain, and their injustices are the true hauntings of this place. The prison may be abandoned, but it's far from empty. The spirits of the condemned linger, their voices a constant reminder of the past. Each visit, each story, brings me closer to understanding the full extent of what happened here. It's a journey that's far from over, but one that I'm committed to seeing through. The old storeroom, once just a place for cleaning supplies, has become a repository for these stories. Each file, each piece of evidence, is a testament to the lives that were lost and the justice that was denied. It's a small step towards giving these souls the recognition they deserve. As I lock up the prison each night, I can still hear the whispers. They follow me, a constant reminder of the work that still needs to be done. But there's also a sense of peace, knowing that these stories are being told, that these lives are being remembered. The journey is far from over, and there are many more stories to uncover. Each one is a step towards justice, a piece of the puzzle that will help to shed light on the past. It's a difficult path, but one that I'm determined to follow. The prison's exterior lights create a warm glow in the calm night, a stark contrast to the darkness within. As I look back at the old building, I feel a sense of resolve. The stories of the condemned will not be forgotten, and their voices will continue to be heard. Belmont Penitentiary is a place of sorrow and pain, but also of hope. Through these stories, I hope to bring a sense of justice to those who were wronged. It's a small step, but one that I believe is important. The voices of the condemned continue to reach out, their whispers a constant reminder of the past. Each story is a piece of their legacy, a testament to their lives and their struggles. It's a burden I'm willing to bear, and one that I'm committed to seeing through. The prison's history is dark, but through these stories, I hope to bring a little light to the lives that were lost within its walls. It's a journey filled with sorrow and heartache, but also with a sense of purpose and resolve. The investigators may come and go, but the stories of the condemned will remain. Their voices will continue to be heard, their lives remembered. It's a small step towards justice, but one that I believe is important. As I walk through the prison grounds, I can feel the presence of the past all around me. The weight of history is heavy, but it's a burden I'm willing to bear. These stories are important, and they deserve to be heard. In the calm of the night, with the prison's exterior lights casting a warm glow, I feel a sense of peace. The journey is far from over, but each story is a step towards justice, a piece of the puzzle that will help to shed light on the past. Belmont Penitentiary may be a place of darkness, but through these stories, I hope to bring a little light to the lives that were lost within its walls.